guys, welcome back to the channel. This is the Master's Thread. Today on the channel we'll be learning how to make this stylish butterfly Bubu gown. It has a collar, it's stylish, it's simple to make. If this is something you're interested in knowing how to make, you need to keep watching, and if you're yet to subscribe to the channel, do well to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Okay, and let's get right into this video. So to start off, I have my fabric. I'm using a Mikado and I have 3 yards of Mikado for this project. I also have tassels, 2 pieces of that, and then I have this placing, I don't know what to call it. This is what I'm going to use for adding to my dress to give it a bit more vibe, and my other sewing tools. Now to start off, the first thing we're going to do is to keep other things aside and go ahead and fold our fabric into 4. So we'll be cutting the front and the back together. I've gone ahead to fold mine into 4. Now after doing that, I'll start by making a starting line, considering the fact that I have like borders at the top. I'm going to just rule a starting line so that I can take my measurements from that point onwards. So ensure that when you fold, your fabric is equal, okay, so you don't have one bigger than the other by the time you're finished. So I just ruled my line down to the end right there. So another way to know the fold you need, okay, is to measure like the wideness of how wide you want your butterfly to come out. So for me, I want mine to be so big, so I'm using everything. Now the first thing I'm doing is to mark my neck width of 3.5 inches. I've gone ahead to mark that. Now from there, I'm going to mark half of my shoulder measurement and then mark my extension, how long I want it to be. Alright, so I'm going to just place how long I want it to be, and that will be where this is going to end. At that point, I'm coming down by 1 inch for my slope, and I'm going to connect that into the neck width. Okay, so now we have that down. Now this line we have here, we need to extend it to the full length, considering that it is a butterfly gown, so the edges have to be equal. So I'm just using my rule to just connect it to the full length. So this gown is going to, I'm going to exhaust the entire 3 yards of Mikado fabric I have on my table right here. I'm going to use everything I have to create this gown. So I'm just going down to the full length where I want it to end, and making my lines across like that. So that part of our dress is going to be cut off later on. Now the next thing we want to determine is the neck area. So this dress is going to have a collar for our piece. We're going to attach a collar to give it, more style, more vibe. I don't know the right word to use. So we're going to be adding a collar to this piece. So for the back neckline, our neck depth is going to be 1 inch. I just mark 1 inch, and then for the front, the first one I'm going to mark is 3 inches. So I'm going to connect the first neck depth, which is the back, and then connect the second, which is the front. Okay, so the front is still going to have a slit. So from that neck depth for the front, measure how deep you want your slit to sit, but also consider your chest area, your bust, if you want your cleavage to be exposed or not. So I've gone ahead to mark mine. I marked 4 inches. So total for my neck depth of the front is 7 inches, 3 inches for the roundness, and then 4 inches for the slit I'm going to create. Now at the base also, I'll be cutting off the borders, so I'm going to just arrange that properly and rule a line at the end, so that while I'm cutting this, I can cut this accurately in a straight line. Like I said, you don't want one of your piece to either be bigger than the other or shorter than the other. It's going to disturb what you're trying to achieve. So now I'm going in with my rule to just make a straight line across at the end so that I can cut that off. So now that I have that, I'm going with my scissors and I'm going to start cutting. So I'm starting from the base where I just made that line. I'm going to cut that out. I'll not be needing the other part. That is just the border of the Mikado fabric that I'm working it. Now note that for this kind of gown, you can use any fabric of your choice. You can use an Ankara fabric, okay, to create this, any fabric of your choice. And then I went ahead to cut out the neck, and then I'm adding half inch to the shoulder for my shoulder joining, which is absolutely necessary. Now this is what I have for this, okay. I'm marking the wrong side of my fabric because this fabric can be a bit tricky, noting the wrong side from the right side. And I'm going ahead to cut out the sides, the line I made by the sides, okay. Go ahead and cut that out because we will not be needing that for this dress. So now that I have this all done, I'm going to take off one piece, that's the mid one. I'll take that off. That's going to serve as the back, and I'll fold back what I have here to serve as my front. Now we want to create that slit for our front piece. So like I said, you can go as deep as you want. If you want your bust area to be exposed, please do as you please. Go down as much as you want, or make it as short as you want. Totally depends on your preference, okay. So now I'm going to cut out the neckline first. That's the C neckline, the circle neckline, and then I go ahead and slit it open. So I'm just slitting this open without doing anything extra to end at the point which I marked earlier. Now we want to cut like a piece. We're going to use that to turn that slit area. So you want to cut a piece that is a bit longer than the length of what you have around there. So this piece I have, I'm going to reduce it a little bit more, and I'll just place this on it like so. So I'm not going to do anything like create the slit on it. So what I like doing when I'm trying to turn the slits like this, opening like this, I don't open up my piece. I just pin them first to the area where I want to use it, where I want to use the facing. I'm going to pin them down, ensure that it's well placed. You'll notice that I did not make any cut on it yet. So after stitching around it, that is when I'm going to make my cut. So this is what I have. I've placed this. Now I'm going to flip this to the other side where I have my slit so visible. So this will help me to just stitch this around it, following the slits that I have right there. So this is what I have after I finish. You can see the slit line, the stitched line, sorry. So now I'll go in with my scissors to trim. But before that, I just went ahead to take off my pins I have. Now you're going to use the scissors and go in, take off the excess at the midpoint, take off the excess you will not be needing, okay. So you can see how I'm doing this. So this is the best way I actually turn necklines like this, okay. And then I'm making notches around this, so by the time I flip this to the other side, it's going to sit perfectly. So on that sharp edge, you want to make your notch to be close to the part where you stitch, not on your stitch line, just close to it. So I'll finish doing that. I'm going to reduce this again because it's actually quite long, and I'm also reducing it by the side so that it's not too big by the time I fold this up. So now that I have this, what I'll do is to go ahead and fold the wrong edge into, I'll fold it into the wrong side. Just flip it to the wrong side, just as you see me doing, like so. So you're flipping from the right side of your fabric to the wrong side of your fabric. You're going to flip that and ensure to give it a very good press. See how I'm emphasizing on giving it a good press. Ensure to iron this down very well. By the time you iron it very well, it's going to sit perfectly inside. So by the time you iron this, you flip it to the wrong side and you press it very well. What you need to do next is to just fold in the rough edges and then you stitch around it. So I'm showing you how to do this. You just fold in the rough edge and you stitch, follow through and stitch it very closely so that it looks nice by the time you finish doing that. So I'll go ahead to press this and then stitch this and show you what we have. So this is what I have after I finish doing that. You can see how it looks, and I ensure to give it a very good press. So do that so that it looks nice. So this is the slit and that is how nice it is sitting. Now we're going to bring in the back piece. You want to place your piece right side to right side and go ahead and stitch it along the shoulder area. So you can just pin that down firstly and go ahead and stitch it by 1/2 inch along the shoulder areas. So this is what I have after I finish stitching my shoulders down. I'm going to just open this up so that you get a clearer view. This is what it looks like. So now we want to work on our collar piece. You want to take the measurement around your neckline, starting from where the slit ends at the top. You're going to take the measurement round this. Please, while taking your measurement, okay, take this patiently and ensure that you're taking accurate measurements. If it needs you to take it 3-4 times, take it so that you have the accurate measurement. So while you're cutting your collar and stitching, you don't have any issues whatsoever. So you can see me placing this, and I'm placing my tape in a curved manner. It is not straight, okay? Your tape should be in a curved manner so you can get the accurate measurement and see where I'm placing my tape from. You're going to place it that way and measure it round. So ensure your fabric is well placed while you're taking your measurement so that you can get the correct measurement. So after taking my measurement, I had 19 inches. Now we're going to draft our pattern. I have this paper here. It is actually folded into two. I'll start off by ruling a line. This is going to serve as the basic line where I'm going to take my measurement. Now what I'm going to do is to place half of the measurement I got. I'm going to place half of the measurement I got, place it that way, and then extend it upwards. Remember I said my paper is folded into two. Now from that point, I'm going to get the midpoint of that line, and I'm also going to note. So from this end here, I'll go up by half of an inch, right? And then I'll connect it to the midline, which I marked earlier. Okay, so using my straight rule, I'm going to just connect it like so to meet that midline. Now that I've connected that, I'm going to mark my collar. This is the collar stand. You need to mark the width. So I'm using 1 inch for my collar stand, and I'm following through the line. So when you get to this part, you measure from that half-inch line where you came up to mark that. So now I'm going to use my rule to connect those points which are marked together. Okay, and then I'm going to just connect this edge like so. So we have the collar stand. You can use just this collar to make your collar, but we're going to be using the collar stand and the collar fold. And I went ahead to just curve that end so that it is not straight. Or I can see that I just use my free hand. Now I'm going to roll another line, okay, so we can draft out the collar fold. Now you're going to place the same measurement as what you had on the collar stand, which is what you got around your neckline, half of it. You place that down. All right, now the next thing we want to do is to come here and then place how wide we want this place to be. So on this part here, what I'm marking is I'm marking 2 inches, sorry. On this line here, I'm marking 2 inches. You can see that I just marked 2 inches all through, and I'm going to connect that 2 inches first, connect it this way, and then connect it also this way. So this is the collar fold. The collar fold is usually bigger than the collar stand. Now from this end here, I'll come in by 1 inch because the collar stand is always longer than the collar fold, okay, 1 inch longer. So I came in by 1 inch there to get that curve. Now at this point here, I'm going to extend it. So this collar, type of collar we're working with, has like an extension where the sides are longer than what we have at the midpoint. So I just extended mine by 4 inch. You can go as much as 5, 6, depending on what you want. So now I'm going to use the curved part of my rule to now connect this to this edge like so. So now after doing this, we're going to just get the midpoint. We're going to curve this like just like we did for the collar stand. You want to get the midpoint between the lines you have here. So I'm going to just get the midpoint, and after that, from the midpoint here, that's from the back, the folded end, the close point, I'm going up by half of an inch. Okay, I'll just go up by half inch, and I'll use my rule to connect that point. So after connecting it, this is what we have for the collar. We have the collar stand, we have the collar fall. So I'm going in with my scissors now to cut. You want to watch closely how I'm cutting this so you're not confused. And try as much as possible to not add the parts where we already took out so that your collar doesn't come out looking awkward. Okay, so this is what I have. So this is what I have. After I finish, I'm going on to label the collar stand, the collar fall, and then I'm indicating where it's going towards the up. Now I'll go ahead and cut on my fabric. Now to cut on the fabric, you're going to need 2 of each piece. So 2 for the collar fall, 2 for the collar stand, because you're going to need one as a main piece and the other as a lining piece. Okay, so I'm going to place my fabric this way, and I'll place it on top, and I will cut it out. So this is what I have after cutting out, and I added half inch all around this, as you can see, for my stitching allowance. I'll go ahead and iron my interface into it. Now for the tassels, we're going to have like a rope attached to the collar. I have this piece of fabric I've gone ahead to cut. So depending on how wide you want yours to be, you're going to fold it this way. So fold in the rough edge on one side so that it looks neat, and then fold in half inch on both sides. So what I have here is about 1.5 inch. That's the width of what I have here. So you're going to fold it there, and then you tuck in your tassels inside of it and stitch. So mine didn't stay. I had to hand stitch my tassel to it so that it stayed and it looked nice. So for the collar piece, this is what it looks like after ironing my interface into it. I'm going to bring in my pattern and place this. So I'm going to align this in a way where I have that half inch which I added for my seam allowance all around it. So half inch at the top, half inch by the sides, half inch at the base. So I'm going to place this well. So I want to use my pattern as a guide so that I can arrive at what I started with as the initial measurement I used in drafting out my pattern. Okay, so this is important. After cutting out, don't throw away your paper. So you can see me pinning this down at various points so that I can take this to the machine to stitch. So this will help me to take off the excess which I added for my allowance, and ensure to place this at the point where you have your allowances at the top, at the sides, at the base, like I earlier mentioned. So I'm going to place this, and then I'll take it to the machine. I'm going to start from this end here, and I'm going to stitch it by half of an inch. I'll stitch very close to my paper. Okay, just very close to the paper. That's where you're going to stitch. Just follow what you have at the paper and then stitch it this way all around and leaving the base open. Okay, don't stitch the base. Okay, so this is what I have for mine. After I finished, I've removed my pattern. Now I'm going to take off the excess fabric I have at the sides and at the top. So taking off this, okay, just helps your fabric to relax by the time you go ahead to iron this. If you leave this, it's going to leave the collar will look bulky. It's going to look nice. So I'm going to turn this over to the right side and go ahead and give this a really good press. So this is what I have for my collar stand, and then for the collar fall, the collar stand is a smaller one. Sorry, the collar fall is a bigger one. So for the collar stand, I'm going to get the midpoint. You can see that I placed my piece together to get the midpoint, and then for the collar fall, I'm also going to fold it into two to get my midpoint so that I can place my piece together to stitch them together. Now we're going to stitch together. You're going to bring this piece here. See, I'm playing where I'm not facing upward, so it's not facing me. It's not going towards my direction. Okay, it's going the other way, and then I'm going to place that down. Then I will bring in the collar fall and place it there, aligning the notched parts together. Now I'm going to bring in the ropes which I've created. So this is what mine looks like. We're going to be placing the ropes in between the collars. So this other part of the ropes are open, so it is not I'm not going to struggle while I'm stitching on my machine. So you want to place this well. Firstly, ensure that you've placed this well. Now to place the ropes, go ahead and get the midpoint of your collar foil. Just take the measurement you have around there, get the midpoint. You can see how I'm placing this. Okay, the midpoint of the collar stand. I don't know what I'm making. I'm just making a mistake with that. So get the midpoint. That's where we're going to place our ropes. You're going to now tuck in your ropes to that point. Okay, and then place the other one on top of it. That's the other collar stand on top of it, and pin it down. Please ensure to pin it down so it doesn't run off before you get to your machine. So you notice that I'm pinning down firstly at the point where I notched, because I want that to stay together, and I'm going to arrange the sides where the rope is. I'll arrange them properly and then also pin it down. Now I'll pin around that area so that it stays properly. Okay, you need to pin down so your fabric is well placed. And then I'll bring in the other rope for the other side. That's the second one for the other side. I'll bring it in. I'll also tuck it in between, okay, my collar stand, the place where I made my mark. That's the midpoint. I'll tuck it in between that area, and I'll pin, and I'll also pin down the other sides, just like we did for the collar foil. We're going to bring in our pattern again. You're going to place the pattern this way. Place it on top of it, so where you have these allowances, 1/2 inch all around. Okay, just like we did for the collar foil. I'm going to place it that way, and I'll pin it down. Okay, so the pattern helps as a guide. That's why I actually cut it out on fold. It helps as a guide so that when I'm stitching, I can get my curves correctly, I get the measurement correctly. Okay, arrive at the measurement that I want. So after pinning down, now we're going to go to the machine and stitch, starting from here. Stitch very close to your paper, just like we did before. Stitch round and then leave this other side open to flip it over. So this is what I have after I finished. I'm taking off the excess that I have. Remember, I said taking this off will help the collar to sit properly instead of it to be bulky inside. You don't need the excess anymore, so just take it off. So this is what it looks like for mine. Now I'm going to flip this to the right side and go ahead and press this very well. Give this a very good press so that it will last. So this is what it looks like. I tucked in the allowance I had, which was 1/2 inch on both sides. Now I'm making a mark at the midpoint of my collar. I'm going to bring in my piece, that's the gown piece, where we want to attach our collar to. You're going to get the midpoint. So the midpoint of your gown is actually at is the center back. So you're going to take the measurement of the center back by placing the shoulders together, and then just make a notch at your midpoint. Okay, so I'm using a notch for this instead of just making a mark. Okay, just like I did for the other one. Now what we want to do is to pin the collar round this point. So you're going to start off with the point where you made your mark. We're going to be tucking in the collar tucking the neckline in between the collar. Remember, I've already folded the allowance inside. So we're going to do this all around your piece. Please take your time to do this. Tuck it in carefully. Tuck it in carefully. Now, the reason why you're going to pin this all around before going to stitch, okay, why I think it is necessary for you to do that, is because if your fabric is excess, say your collar is bigger than what you have around the neck, you can make adjustment to it at this point. But if you start stitching down and then you notice the excess around your collar, it's going to be stressful for you to start losing. So this is what I would advise you to just tuck it in. Take your time to tuck it in properly. Ensure that everywhere is sitting in. Ensure that the neckline is well tucked in between the collar piece. Ensure that it is well tucked in. Okay, when you've ensured that you've done that properly, then you go over to your machine and just stitch it down. So stitch very close to the end of your collar so that it's going to come out looking very nice. So this is what mine looks like after I finish. You can see my collar looking so pretty, right? It looks so nice already. So I finished doing that for the collar, and this is what it looks like. So I'm still going to iron this down so that it sits properly. Now the next thing we're going to do is to go ahead and hem the sides. You're going to fold half inch twice all around your piece from one side to the other, okay, all the rough ends. I've gone ahead to do that. Now I want to start placing my designs. I don't know if I should call that a design. I want to start placing that design. So to place that, I want to place it at the midpoint of my gown. So I'm just rolling a line from the midpoint, that's from the top to the base to get the midpoint. And then I'm going to place those designs. So you can get as much as you want. I only have 5 for mine. Okay, if I knew I would have gotten more of this, but I think 5 is still good. So you're going to place this, considering the distance, take the measurement wherever you want to place this. I think I used about 10 inches difference for mine to place mine. So you can make yours, further. You can add more, like I said, or you can decide to just totally skip that. It's optional, okay? It's not mandatory that you add this to your dress at all. So you can do that. And I'm just going to just measure down to where I want this to end. Remember I said I have 5. So I'm ensuring that all 5 of them is going to sit on this properly, okay? Now, after doing that, I'll go ahead and just place them to those points which I have marked using my glue. So you can use any glue of your choice to just place it down. So after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to start stitching my piece. Now, to create your piece, to create the stitch lines, initially I went down by 10 inches, which is the bust point. I'll advise you to not do that because later on I actually changed that. So go down 2 inches from your bust point. For me, my bust point is 10 inches. The shoulder to the bust point is 10. So I went down later by 2 inches, making it 12 inches. And then I marked the waist point. That's the half length. And from there I marked my hip. So whatever I'm doing to one side, I'm replicating on the other. And make sure that before you do this, you have your fabrics pinned together properly so that one is not too wider than the other, and then by the time you finish stitching it comes out looking nice. So you want to start on the bust line to take your round bust measurement divided by 4. So from the center you're going to place quarter of your round bust to the right and then place quarter of your round bust to the left. Now I would advise you to add more allowances, say 2 inches extra to that measurement. Say take for example quarter of your round bust is 10, add 2 inches to 10, okay, so that it makes it freer on your body. You don't need this to be tight. Do the same thing around the waist. Take mark quarter of your round waist to the right, mark it to the left, add allowances to that. Do the same thing around the hip, okay, add your allowances and then you connect it together. So you can see that I have like a body shape for mine. Okay, this is what yours should look like, or maybe a difference depending on your body shape. Now, going towards the end, the dress is not going to be stitched to the end. So from the base here, you can see that I've already hemmed this. We're going to go up by 10 to 15 inches. I just went up by that. I'm going to do that by all the both sides. So whatever you're doing to the left, replicate to the right. I'm going to do that. After that, I'm just going to like make an A line coming towards that point. So you want to come in from the edge firstly so that you know where you're going to end that. So you come in from the end, how coming by whatever amount you want, okay? So just going to place that coming towards that way. So you can see me placing my tape this way, and then I came in and I'm just using my chalk to just connect to the line I have at the hip. Repeat the same process on the other side. So if you want this to come down more, okay, you can absolutely do that. If you want to stitch to the end, I don't advise stitch to the end so that you have ease of movement, okay? So don't stitch to the end, just come up by some inches and then you just do the same thing like you did for the other side and go ahead and stitch. So this is what it looks like. So you can see that if you watch closely, you see that I didn't start from that line. That's what I was mentioning earlier. So this brings us to the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and if you're here, you're here to subscribe to the channel, do also subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, all right, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.